Writing is a dangerous and powerful thing. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you a story that certainly will convince you that this is true. It's worth sticking around for.
When it comes to writing, it's like you can try running from it, but we all need this in our lives, you know, as creatures of narrative. Or the sirens like just ruining this.
It's building, actually, it's rising action.
That's awesome. That is such a great example right there. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the beating heart of the Colorado Rockies, wherein me and some friends of mine have been working on this 4-part video series shot entirely on 16mm film. The second episode just came out, so as promised, I'm coming to you with a little bit of a behind the scenes into how we make videos like this. This one specifically is about writing, how to write better YouTube videos. Making a video about writing videos is difficult for 2 reasons. One, it's the least sexy part of the process. There's no cool gear or anything like that. And then 2, it's difficult because inherently in making a video like this, I'm making the insinuation that I believe I'm good enough at writing to be teaching you how to do it. And the truth is, I am at a truck stop on a lifelong highway. Writing is something that I will continually be learning until the day I die. So don't get it twisted. I don't think I'm like the man when it comes to all of this. But I do think along my journey, I've learned a couple things that should be somewhat useful to you. Now, also to legitimize and justify the creation of this video, I've also invited on a friend of mine. I, along with hundreds of thousands of other people, all agree he's a pretty great writer. So intermittently, we'll be hearing some high-level thoughts about writing as a whole from Nathaniel Drew. That's what this video is about, so enjoy.
From what I've seen, most people don't like writing, actually. Like, I think it's something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable because it's hard, because it's abstract, because it's, you know, like, nobody's telling you where you're supposed to go, right? You're figuring it out as you go along. It's like doing anything that's difficult, right? It's like lifting weights or sport or whatever, you know?
In my history of learning how to make videos, there came a pretty scary point, I remember pretty vividly, where I realized I was going to have to stop caring so much about lenses and cameras and lights and gear, and I was going to have to start caring a lot more about story structure, narrative, things like that. And it was incredibly intimidating because there's not a super clear roadmap on how to start doing that. And so for me, the biggest realization was that this is not meant to be easy, and I had to go easy on myself as I was learning to write, being like, okay, you're not going to be amazing at this at first, but the 2 things that I have control over, that I have power over, that are going to take me from where I am now to where I want to be, are practice and discipline. I know nobody wants to hear those words. They're not fun. But the truth is, that is the secret. That is the door that you have to open in order to enter this world. Learning how to practice, learning how to be disciplined is difficult and it's overwhelming, but it's possible. And you, my dear viewer, are capable of it. You can do it. People do it all the time when they get into working out or trying a new sport. For me, it materialized in, I decided I was going to go to the same coffee shop around the same time and try to fill 1 small page of a journal whenever I had the availability to do so. And it was difficult at first and I was inconsistent, but over time, with enough discipline and enough practice, I was able to get myself to a point where I'm not intimidated by writing in my journal anymore. For one thing, I have come to terms with the extremely important realization that the stuff that winds up in here is not ever going to be a final draft. A notebook, when you start writing, it should be messy. It should be all over the place. For me, it's really important to be in a public space because I need prompts. I need to see someone spill a cup of coffee. I need to see someone take their hat off and have crazy hairdo underneath or whatever. I need things to prompt me so that I can be a little bit of an outside observer on the world. Everybody's writing process inherently, as it becomes more natural, will become more and more you. You will realize what works and what doesn't work, but it all comes on the back end of being disciplined and practicing. So to give you a concrete tip or tactic when it comes to writing, at the very beginning, when you're first trying to get into this, my best way to summarize this point is try to create an atmosphere and curate that atmosphere into something where you are able to show up for the practice and you are able to discipline yourself to do the work. For me, it was a coffee shop. For you, it might be waking up before you have to go to work and setting aside 30 minutes. For you, it might be staying up a little bit extra late when the house goes to sleep and everything is settled. There is no universal prescription, but you have to find it. And that will only happen once you decide that you're looking for it. So look for your space.
In some ways, your willingness to do something that's uncomfortable can expand the potential of the thing that you're trying to make. You know, if you are not willing to do this thing that is hard, right? Organize your ideas around something that's abstract, to construct a story, to really like think about the different pieces that need to be put together, the ceiling is lower. Like that, I really feel like writing is the ceiling raiser of video making, you know? And that's maybe why I get frustrated with eye candy, because it's like it has a limit, you know? And just for me at least, like after a few minutes, it's like, okay, I'm kind of done. Yeah, so I like to look at pretty things, but I feel nourished with stories. So for me, with the things that I want to make, writing is, everything is built around writing.
So we've established a little bit of a rhythm. We've got a flow going. We have a structure of discipline in place. We have our space and our time that we write. The next question that's going to come up inevitably as you begin your writing journey is, what do you write about? And especially in the early phases, that's a very real and hard to answer question. I want you to pay attention not only to how you feel, but I want you to pay attention to the things that prompt you to feel that way. And I want you to constantly be on alert and be ready to pull your phone out and make a note about what things prompted you to feel that way. And then write about those things. So in my own work, I try really hard to pay attention to the mundane, and I try to think about how that affects me on a bigger, broader level. And so, you know, in this series that I've been working on, some of the things are like, I noticed how much I felt alive when I was riding my bike. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to write about bikes. And then on the second one, I was sitting out on a front porch with some friends on a summer afternoon. And I was like, man, this place is like, it's almost like an emotional embassy. This place is magical. And so I decided I'm going to write about front porches. But you can't just come up with those ideas as easily as you can run into them in your everyday life, but you have to be locked and loaded. One of the best ways, honestly, to do this, to get into this emotional state, to get into a flow of emotion, I guess is a way to put it, is honestly music. So much of the tones that I find in my own work come from a song that I hear. And that just beautifully transitions us into the best possible sponsor for a video like this. And that is MusicBed.
Okay, let's do this.
I thought for the ad read, maybe we could zoom out a little bit. Becoming a better writer is in service of this lifelong mission to be better at communicating emotion. That can happen through your script, through your shot list, or critically, through your soundtrack, what music you pick. For the longest time, I felt like I didn't have access to music that was at the caliber of my quality standards, until I found MusicBed. Their library of over 60,000 songs is absolutely incredible, and it's paired with one of the best search UIs you could possibly hope for. Basically, you can input any song that you can think of, and they will search through their database to find a song that sounds and feels similar to the song that you put in. For example, for this video, I put in the song Good Thoughts, Bad Thoughts by Funkadelic, and every single song in this video is from that one search. It's extremely impressive. It's the choice of pros. So I highly encourage you to check out the link down below, and you'll get 14 days free, and you'll be able to see that I'm not blowing smoke. This is truly the best place to find music for your videos. It injects emotion in a way that just about nothing else can. It's completely priceless. So thank you, MusicBed, for sponsoring this video. Without further ado, let's move on.
Honestly, like, what's kind of cool is because there's such an emphasis on that, if I don't shoot something perfectly or whatever, the transitions could be cleaner or whatever, as long as I know it's just in service of what I'm trying to say, it's okay, it's good enough. Like, you can get lost with always making something more visually perfect. That's like the video equivalent of slightly losing your way, slightly getting distracted with what's shiny. I don't know why I am this way, but I will say, like, really good stories always feel like they're short in supply. So there's a lot of beautiful stuff out there. You know, a lot of people that can make some really good eye candy, but it's not every day that I stumble on something where I'm like, oh my God, what an incredible story. And that sticks with me, you know? So
I am fully aware there is an entire community of people that is very interested in the hardware / software side of writing. And I am just the wrong person to talk to when it comes to all of this stuff. I don't use a note-taking app. I don't know how to tell you to save frames that inspire you for shot lists or whatever. I don't do any of that stuff. I do everything with a pen and paper. I am on this ongoing mission to make my process as analog as humanly possible. I am so sick of computers that it just feels more human. It's more fun. It's more enjoyable for me. So I just use a notebook. I draw all my shot lists by hand as best as I can. I'm not very good at drawing, but I try, and it's super satisfying. So that's not a universal prescription, but that's just the truth. That's how I write. My one tip, if you're specifically working on the storytelling side of your video making, so this is a rule that can be broken, especially if you're working more on becoming like a better cinematographer. Don't listen to this advice. If you're strictly trying to become a better storyteller, I advise you to start with the script and follow with the shot list. It's very easy to see a shot or a frame or something and be like, okay, I'm going to recreate that shot and then try and make something as a byproduct of the fact that I sort of made this cool shot.
no, I don't like the shot anymore. The light doesn't work.
Do it the other way around. Write something and then fill in the gaps with what shots you want to get for it. So the way I do is I write the script out. I try to get it as finalized as possible, and I write with enough space between lines that I can go in and I can add notes about what kind of shots could go where. It's messy. It's kind of a little bit all over the place, and I have a way that I kind of star different parts of it to be like, this is something I'm actually going to do. This is just an idea. I have my own process that's truly not worth teaching because it makes sense up here and it would make no sense to anybody else. But it's come off of, again, the back end of a ton of discipline and practice, and now it makes sense to me. But yeah, for the sake of learning how to tell stories better, start with the story. Start with what you want to say. Fill in the gaps with the shots and everything later. The shots don't have to be amazing if the story is. At the beginning, I mentioned that making a video about writing was extremely difficult. It's even more difficult when you're not talking about writing strictly for retention. So therefore, there's an absolute world of technique and no rules whatsoever. So I hope at the very least this video helped you to recognize the writer within you and helped you to see that you have access to the world's most powerful medium that can help you change minds, shape hearts, and share emotions. Now, I also mentioned that I had a story about the power of writing, and that's true as well. Basically, very recently, Peter McKinnon uploaded the Bucket Shot Part 2, and I left a highly educated, highly thought out comment on the video that said, Bucket Shot Part 2, we're gonna need a bigger bucket. And then it was skyrocketing to become the top comment within a couple of days. It was absolutely on an exponential bell curve. And then all of a sudden it plateaued at 253 likes. So I logged onto my other account and I scrolled down, and lo and behold, I got shadow banned from the comment section of the Bucket Shot Part 2. What the heck? If you can get Peter McKinnon to shadow ban you, you can do anything. That's writing, baby.